Hello there. Welcome to the Force Collective. We are back. Right now it's just me and Chrono. I don't know if the other two will show up at any time. They haven't said yay or nay. So we're just going to go ahead and make this the episode where we talk about it, whether they show up or not. We put it off for long enough, and I have no other idea on what to stream about besides maybe more Kenobi stuff. I mean, we've heard a few things. Not me in particular. Chrono has heard a few things, and I haven't read any of the leaks. I don't want to talk about the leaks, but if that's what it comes down to, we'll talk about the leaks. But until then, we have this on the screen here. The most wonderful comic that Disney Star Wars has come up with. The Galactic Bake Off Spectacular, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, something like that.
And the whole plot of the comic is these two, Buckets of Blood, why ever they call him that, I don't know. And then I think his name is Kantam. Kantam, I think. Okay, I can't remember their names too. Well, I remember Buckets of Blood pretty well because that's like the most memorable name ever.
Not for good reason.
Yeah, not for good reason. Why would you call a Jedi Buckets of Blood? That sounds too aggressive for a Jedi.
I think that they kind of explained that at some point that it's because he's like a medic or something and he's always working with blood.
I still don't feel like that warrants the name Buckets of Blood.
It sounds like someone really didn't know what to like someone told this person, you have to give this Jedi character a nickname and it's due tomorrow, and he didn't have enough time to think about it.
Or it could have just been done by the same person who created the ship called the Vessel.
Oh yeah, probably.
I mean, I don't know what else to say about that one. Great name, people. Great name. Anyways, so the whole plot of this comic right here is these two on the screen. They are letting their Jedi Padawan kids, whatever, I don't know, go and cook Yoda's special custard. And the only way that they can cook it is if they also tell a story, because apparently the story has to be an integral part of the cooking process. So as you can see on the screen, this actually sort of explains the whole thing. Master Yoda's recipe states explicitly that the only way for these custard cakes to come out right is if the bakers tell a story while they prepare them. Indeed, and it must be a story about cooperation. Exactly, a story where they learn something about what they are capable of, or one of trust between them and someone else that led to a deeper understanding of the Force. This is peak Star Wars right here.
Yeah, this is like Star Wars meets Dora the Explorer.
Hey, look, when I right before stream, I told you, me and Sir Away touched on this a little bit. I'm going to tell you the exact same thing I told him, okay? And I want you to tell me what you think about what I'm about to say. So, since we both read the comic, doesn't it feel like one of those like, since you've watched a lot of anime, you know what I'm talking about. One of those recap episodes where the main character has either, let's say, sat down with somebody and started telling the story of what's been happening to them over the past few, who knows when. So this whole thing feels, even though it's not exactly a recap story, because this is a one-off comic, it feels like if there was more, this would be a recap story of whatever else happened. What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. This it's like they sell it like it's the Galactic Bake Off or whatever, and it's just a cooking theme with which they use as an excuse to tell you a little bit about their past. And actually, the story they tell while cooking is not bad. It could even be good with a little tweak.
Yep.
But the fact that they tell this story while trying to make some dessert, that's like I don't really feel like the Jedi would actually do this kind of thing. I mean, you have to remember the Jedi are molded like this ancient religion. They're supposed to be kind of like Tibetan monks or something like that. And I don't see this kind of cooking parties happening at a temple.
Well, see, I always figured when it come to food and all that stuff, I figured they had like, okay, better way to explain it. So you know how, let's say in the Clone Wars as a great example, you know how like in the hangar where the final episodes of season 5 of the Clone Wars happened, where that place exploded and all that stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
there was a lot of civilian and military personnel working in the temple. So it's not just Jedi in the temple. There are other personnel. So what I'm getting at is I always thought that there were civilians cooking for the Jedi, not just for the Jedi exactly, but for also the people that help out at the temple. I always thought that there was civilians doing that kind of thing, not the Jedi, but they go on this little cooking adventure. And I'm thinking, don't these Jedi have better things to do than to be standing around cooking?
Yeah, because the room is full of people. They are all like wasting their time listening to this story and well, they say they're helping make the food, but it's like, how many people does it take to bake something?
Yeah, no, right? Like, how many characters was in that same kitchen working on that custard? There's like over 5 or 6. I want to say maybe close to 8.
Yeah.
Not to mention the 2 right here on the screen that were telling the story, which also don't make sense. Like, why does a story make a custard cake come out correctly? I don't know. But the logic here is amazing, to say the very least.
I guess they were counting on saying the Force works in mysterious way to cover for that.
I'd say you're probably right. Well, I mean, like you said earlier, the story that they told wasn't terrible. It was actually interesting. And honestly, they really shouldn't have called the comic the Galactic Bake Off Spectacular, because it's really not about a bake off.
No, it really sounded like a cooking contest or something like that, and which
I
would have
know,
been
right?
ridiculous. It still would have been ridiculous, but you try to brand the comic as this thing, and it ends up being something else, and it's like, then what exactly were you after here, and what were you trying to do?
What purpose does this one-off comic right here serve?
Yeah,
It's like a filler episode in any TV show, you know?
yeah, I agree. If
I don't
anything, I would be probably more interested in learning more about this elder Jedi on that cruise ship, like trying to live their last days in peace.
Mhm.
I mean, it does make for an interesting topic because we never see what retirement looks for a Jedi.
Nope.
We
Never.
either see them die in combat, or we just or exiled like Obi-Wan or Yoda. So it would be kind of nice to see what happens to them in a non-hostile environment like the war and all that.
Well, here's one thing that bugs me a little bit, and maybe I'm out of line talking about this. Maybe there's something that I'm missing, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But since the story itself takes place where 2 ships collided in light speed. Okay, that's right?
Yeah.
They collide. Okay, so they collided in light speed. One ship was literally full of Jedi. Why couldn't one single Jedi sense that a collision was about to happen and somehow either alert whoever's piloting the ship or anything like what was the point of being a Jedi if you can't sense danger like this? I mean, I know they're
sometimes the
elders, but
yeah,
still.
sometimes what they do, and I really hate that they did this for the movies too. They want to justify their ability to use the Force as something that can increase or decrease with either age or the balance being disrupted. And I really hate that, because then it's not up to you as a Jedi. It's pretty much up to anything else.
That's
I,
true.
I remember that line in the movies when Master Windu says, our ability to use the Force has diminished. And I'm like, what? How does that happen? I mean, is the Force a battery that you run out of? What do you mean your ability to use the Force? I mean, this has been your life. It's not like you learned to use the Force yesterday and you kind of forgot because you didn't practice today. You have been doing this your whole life, and now you can't access the Force?
See, the thing about that scene that you're talking about, the reason why or the way I reasoned out what he meant by that is like where the dark side has clouded everything so much that it's really impeded their ability to see what's going to happen. Where the dark side has apparently clouded everything. That's my thought process on that. But then again, maybe the real reasoning, or maybe what you're saying is probably right. Maybe it's, but I do agree with you. They should not be. It shouldn't be depending on their age or anything like that, because I mean, if the force is like a battery that needs to be recharged, that just makes the force seem weak. I don't.
Yeah.
They talk about how it's this big powerful entity, and then like, oh well, I ran out of force juice. I guess I'll have to charge up, and I'll get back to you in a little bit. Um, I really do. I do agree with you on how that is. And when it comes to the force, I figured that with age you grow stronger with it, because even especially for an older Jedi, you can't physically train to like use your lightsaber or anything like that as much anymore. So you probably focus more on the mind aspect, which is sort of what Yoda is.
Yeah.
He's old. He doesn't use his lightsaber much. He's good with it, but he's old, and he is very much a Jedi that focuses on the mind and stuff like that, not as much being in battle, which is why you don't see him fight much.
Yeah.
And Yoda, other than that, I mean, I don't know what to tell you there. I mean, that's how I figured it should work, but
Yeah, because we even saw this in episode 2. I mean, when he fights Dooku, and they show that they're evenly matched in lightsaber skills, and he says, "Yeah, this is not the way we're deciding this. We're deciding this by our knowledge of the Force." And then he proceeds to completely block him and overpower him with the lightning, and the only way he can actually get free of it is by cheating and making Yoda worry about Obi-Wan and Anakin, and
exactly.
and that shows you that, yeah, I mean, Yoda is clearly not as good as he was in his prime with a lightsaber, but but about the Force, I mean, the guy must be like a complete expert in a lot of its ways, because he's been using it his entire life.
Exactly.
And even if
That's
you
why I
go for the
think.
midi-chlorian thing, he said he's supposed to have the highest count before Anakin showed up. So
Yep.
the guy is supposed to be this uh, expert in the Force, and then you want to sell me in the other movie that, oh yeah, we are the Jedi Masters, but yeah, no, we can't really use the Force as much. And it's like, what? Even
And
in this comic, that they go that way too, because they show this old Jedi that she's scared, and when the rocks and the debris start falling on them, she tries to help, but immediately excuses herself, like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I'm not as good as I used to be." And like, you don't need to be as good as you used to be. You're smarter and you're wiser, meaning you don't need to be swinging that lightsaber like you were, whatever. I mean, that's not how it works.
Exactly. I don't. I don't agree with the direction they went, especially for the old Jedi. Like they're all in just this big floating retirement home in space, and um, the thing about it is that none of them are strong at all at this point with the Force, which is what I'm getting out of it. So why in the world do they still go along with it instead of just going to live normal lives instead of sitting there just thinking, once I used to be a Force user, my Force abilities aren't like they used to be anymore, but
Yeah.
I'm going to still claim to be a Jedi. You know, that kind of stuff. And I'm just thinking, like, look, you have more time now to focus on the Force than ever before. You don't have to go out and fight wars. You can't physically go out and fight wars. So why are you weaker in the Force now than when you were younger and had to fight? You know, you had
Yeah.
less time to train and focus on the Force. Now you have all the time in the world, and you're weaker because of it.
And Clone Wars showed us that that's not how it works. When they send Ahsoka to the library and she finds this old Jedi master that she doesn't take seriously, and then he ends up teaching
Exactly.
them the very valuable lesson of not going with your head in first and trying to figure out things and all that. And it's like, yeah, that the way they portrayed that old Jedi master, that's the way I always pictured the oldest Jedi would be.
Exactly. They portrayed it perfectly. He may not have been a fast dude, which is what you'd expect from an old man, but he knew how to outsmart people and he was strong in the force, very
Yeah.
strong. So, I mean, that's really a perfect example of what the Jedi that should have been on that thing would have been like. And getting back to the point of why none of them sensed that there was going to be an incoming ship going to collide and pull a holdo maneuver somehow. Though honestly, if this happened, why didn't that cause more destruction than because both ships are in light speed and they're both colliding? Why didn't this cause more destruction than the holdo maneuver?
True. That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't understand it. The logic of this whole thing just doesn't make sense to me. Um, I don't know. I just don't know what to say about it.
You can see it because we don't have the cameras on, but I was smiling sarcastically the entire time you were talking about the no one sensed the collision coming because there's something that I won't say because you haven't seen them and you don't want to see the leaks, but something about the leaks is going to trigger that exact same train of thought in you.
What?
Yeah, you're going to be like, no, this is not real. This can't be.
Oh no! Don't tell me that. I was trying to look forward to the Obi-Wan show.
Sorry, I'm a dark side acolyte. It is my job to bring you
Well,
to
you
the
know,
darkness.
yeah, okay. I see. Now you're becoming the new Soraya Way. I see now. Yeah,
Well, I had to fill his shoes. He's not here.
that's true. That is very true. They neither of them showed up. So I'll be the Mary Sue. You be the dark side.
Interesting choice.
Well, I mean, I guess I can't be the Mary Sue because I'm not a female, but you know.
Well, if 2022 has taught us anything, is that if you believe it, you might as well be.
So if I say I'm a taco, can I be a taco?
According to current logic, it's kind of possible.
Okay, okay. That's good because I always wanted to be a taco. I just don't like the part where people eat me. So I might refrain for now until people are more accepting of other tacos living among us.
No, no, no. This is the perfect time to come out as a taco because you would be the first taco.
Oh, that's true. That is so true. And if I am the first taco, then I'll be historic. People will be
Yeah,
like the first taco to ever come out as a taco and not get eaten.
stunning and
That
brave.
yeah, stunning and brave. The nonsense that we come up with. Oh gosh. Well, do you got anything else to say about this comic besides what we just talked about?
Well, the other thing that it's not that it bothered me, but it's like, why would Yoda have dessert recipes, and why are they so human-like if he's not human?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, I know we don't know a lot about Yoda and his species, but it kind of doesn't make sense for the dessert to be so human-like if it comes from a person that is not human. I mean,
I'm honestly like because I've seen what it looks like. First of all, it looks gross. Second of all, it like it does look more probably human than alien. That's for sure. And why wouldn't they have come up with something better than that? I mean,
well,
they
when
they
you
even put the recipe in the back of the
yeah,
comic that you can actually make it.
I'm tempted to try it and send it to Gordon Ramsay, see what he thinks of it.
He would probably put two pieces of bread on each side of your face and ask you what you are.
Yeah, I'm sure he would do
Well, then you would tell him that it wasn't your recipe; it was somebody else's, and then he'd go do it to them.
that. Please direct this meme to Lucasfilm.
Yeah, I think the whole reason they made this comic was just to give them a reason to make a cook a cooking recipe thing Star Wars themed, because they won't make a Star Wars recipe book as far as I know. They haven't. If they have, I'd love to know about that. Um, for various reasons, but I think they just want an excuse to throw some sort of cooking into Star Wars. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a
I
cooking
bet.
episode in an anime.
Yeah, I bet this was kind of that. Like someone over there, or maybe some people, like plural. They probably were like, we like cooking so much, and we like cook shows, and yeah, maybe we could do something like that with Star Wars, and that's probably what led to this. and
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people defending the decision, saying like, oh, it's a comic book for kids, you're taking this too seriously. And I'm like, when I was a kid, I mean, I like cooking, but I was not looking forward to cooking being on my shows. I was looking forward to the action, to the characters doing cool stuff. I was not thinking, oh man, why is it the Ninja Turtles never cook? I don't remember ever thinking about that.
Nope. Me neither. Honestly, the only time I ever cared about cooking is if it was a very important part to a certain character,
Yeah.
and that's the only time I cared. Because if let's say a certain character loved cooking and that was their thing, in the series, it would create a little plot line around that. It'd be pretty interesting in character building. But if it's just something out of the blue and random like this, where all the Jedi just decide to go cooking, when clearly I'd assume anyway. Now maybe there's lore that tells otherwise, or maybe there's lore that proves me right. But I figured that there would have been civilians cooking for the Jedi, because the
Yeah.
Jedi, I would assume, had better things to do than to stand around cooking. Um, like saving the galaxy from the Sith and other bad people, keeping the peace, not frying up food
Yeah,
for
they're,
each
they're
other.
always they're always telling you about how the Jedi were like training and meditating all the time and trying to look for ways to improve life and to further the order's ideals and stuff like that. And it's like, when do you have time to do all that and then waste an entire afternoon in a cooking class? It's like it's just not possible. I mean, you see the Jedi Temple library filled with information. If you were a young Jedi Master, you have a lot of homework to do there. You can't just be sitting there like figuring, oh, I should make the custard because I'm kind of hungry and I'll invite my friends. And no, people are really busy. You're the keepers of the peace. I mean,
There's one other thing about this comic that I want to talk about, and I'm not saying I'm a great artist by any means, and I'm not saying the art in this is bad, but honestly, the art in this is bad. I'm just kidding. It's not bad, but it doesn't look like a Star Wars comic. It looks generic.
yeah, it
And
looks.
I mean, from the looks on it right here, the style doesn't fit Star Wars, in my opinion. Now, I might sound nitpicky. Soraya Way isn't here, so I can say that. I might sound like I'm nitpicking at the comic, but the art in the comic had bugged me the entire time because it did not look like a Star Wars comic to me. At least, not a serious Star Wars comic. I mean, clearly it's not a serious one because it's all about cooking and telling a story about cooperation and learning something about the Force. Because that totally sounds like a genuine plot line that we'd all be interested in.
Yeah.
It is designed very much like a kid's comic, even though, honestly, I feel like it's not really made just for kids. I feel like it was made for somebody a little older than just a little kid because I don't know. It's the vibe that this thing gives me. Anyway, the art looks like it was designed for a children's book. And
Well, at the
that's
very least, it's better than that other comic book with Mace Windu looking like an ape.
that's true. That
I
is
mean,
true.
at
I
the very
do.
least, it's better than that.
But like Cantam over here on the left, his face changes so many times in the comic.
Oh
Like
yeah, that is a real issue with today's comic book artists. No matter the company they work for, they can't make two panels consistent. They just can't. You turn a page in any Marvel, DC, Image, IDW comic, and you will find different styles from the same artist in different panels. And I'm like, what? What's the editor doing? Why isn't anybody there telling them, hey, you know, this can't be happening. You have to fix this. They don't.
nope. And the whole time I'm just thinking like pick a face and go with it. Now,
Yeah.
like I said, and I'm not exactly the best artist in the world, but as a fellow artist, I would do my best to try to keep the faces at least similar and not do weird faces with them. I mean, there was one comic book panel that I used sort of as a thumbnail, except I edited a little bit of the thumbnail myself. But the actual image that I used for that came from the comic book panel was really odd. Like really, really odd. His mouth was way up too high on his face. He looked like he had a chin that was a mile long. Maybe I'm just nitpicking, like I said, but it bugged me. Like the art did not feel right for me in this, and maybe it's because I'm an artist myself that this bugs me so much. But I shouldn't call it bad art because it's not bad. I mean, frankly, if I were to look at bad art, I would probably have to look at a child's drawing and say, now that's bad art because, it's not good. But, it's different though because it's a child doing it, so it's not bad for a child due to the skill gap, all that stuff. But what I'm saying is, if you were to compare a child's drawing to this, of course you would say the child's drawing isn't as good as that. And maybe I'm going on a tangent about the art. Look,
I get what you're saying. Yeah, you are correct. It's this issue is going on, like I just stated earlier, because these people, they just submit the panels and they are approved like that. And you know what this is? This is careless. It's not that the art is bad. This is that the people in charge of this, starting with the artist and then following with the editors and the colorists, they don't care. And you can totally see that they don't care because the lines are all over the place, and the hairstyles and whatever, they change from panel to panel. And this lack of consistency comes from doing things in a way that you get you get the job done, and that's it. You're not worried about how it looks. And
Yep.
this actually, there's one documentary from Marvel. It's a series from Disney Plus called Marvel 616, I think. And in one of them, they interview the current artist for Miles Morales comic. And he's a guy who lives in Spain, and he does his job remotely and sends everything over to Marvel US. The guy shows you the whole process he goes from the moment he wakes up, how many hours he puts on the designing of one page, and he gives you all these pointers about what he looks for when he's analyzing his own work. He's like, okay, now this line is not right here, this lightning should be there. He even took classes at a university to get the buildings right. I mean, people probably don't care about the buildings. You're watching Spider-Man swinging, but he gets the buildings right because the guy studied for it. And this is what's not happening with people who draws stuff like this. They're like, okay, next page, next, and they get approved with a stamp, like, oh yeah, oh, here we go. And there's no one there telling anyone like, hey, you need to improve this.
They're just patting everybody on the back, saying, "Good job."
Yeah.
Look, I may have went too hard on them when it comes to the art because, like I said, it's not bad. The inconsistency in some of it does annoy me a little bit. But at least the art itself is better than the story. It doesn't fit the Star Wars universe, in my opinion. None of it does.
No.
But you know, it is what it is. They brought it in. I don't know where the High Republic fits in. I mean, I know where it fits in technically, canonically, but is this a replacement of the Old Republic, or is it after the Old Republic? Like what? I've always wondered this, and this might be the last thing we talk about on the stream today, because really this was all we were going to talk about today. I had nothing else planned. So let's figure out, like, is the Old Republic still part of the canon, or did this replace that? What do you think?
I don't really know. I haven't really done any research about where the Old Republic fits in terms of, you know, how they retcon everything whenever they feel like these days. And I don't know if they still consider the Old Republic as part of the main canon. I mean, for sure, I would hope they do, because the Old Republic stories are cool. But I really don't know. And the High Republic as like a prequel to everything, that is really, really lame, because they are not producing quality content for that. It's like, oh, you're meaning to tell me that this convoluted mess of a plot and these characters no one cares about and no one takes serious, these are the guys who came before the original trilogy heroes? I mean, there's no way.
There is no way. Well, see, I
remember reading some comic books, very old comic books, the ones from the timeline of Golden Age of the Sith and stuff like that. And some of those stories, I mean, you probably never heard about them because they were one shots, or at the most they went from 1 to 2 or 3 comic books and they were done. But those stories made sense. they would amplify the lore. They would show you different stuff about the Jedi and the Sith in a time period that when things were very different.
Yeah.
I remember learning about Jedi battle meditation. I didn't even know that was a thing until that comic book, and it was very interesting the way they used it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also a side story in that same book about a couple who there were two brothers that were traveling the galaxy trying to create the charts for light speed travel. And it's like you see all these branching stories trying to tell you different parts of the lore and expanding on them. And it's like, why can't you do that? That's the kind of stuff you're supposed to do with the medium when it's outside the realm of the movies.
Yep.
It's not about just using the characters for whatever ridiculous story you can come up with. It has to make sense to the established canon.
Exactly. Is I didn't like this that much. The story that it told in between the baking scenes wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything I would be proud of if I made it. Let me put it that way. It's not something I would create if I was making a story. It does feel dumbed down for children, which I think that if they're going to make comics, they also should make some that for people that are longtime fans, not just new fans, and not just children. You know, give us a little bit of something that's more adult. And when I say more adult, I don't mean like throwing gore all over the place or whatever. Just give us a few more adult themes or mature themes. That is that either we can relate to or that would make things seem darker at times. Like Star Wars Episode 3 was dark. We don't have anything like that. Not anymore.
I'm not surprised at all that you went to Episode 3 for an example. I can totally picture that in your head you were playing that scene with the lightsaber.
Yeah, it's sort of like this one, right?
Yeah. I'm sure that's what you were thinking when you said Episode 3.
Well, to be completely honest, actually I wasn't. I was thinking more of Count Dooku getting his head chopped off at that very moment. But now that you say that, I mean, this is a more adult theme than Dooku losing his head. This is that was a much better example of what I was talking about. We don't have any darkness in Star Wars. It's all this bright, cheery stuff that nobody cares about. And when I say bright and cheery, I'm talking about this childish junk that we're seeing right here. They already tried a kids show with Rebels. They had to change Rebels a little bit. I mean, you could see that they changed it to feel more like the Clone Wars throughout the rest of the show with, what they were able to do. They pushed the limits with Rebels, but then they tried to go even more kids showish with Resistance, which only lasted like one season, right? One or two.
Yeah, you can totally tell that the people behind Rebels wanted to go darker, and they probably were shut down by the people signing off on the projects, like saying that, you know what, this is cool, but you gotta tone it down for kids. Exactly. You can totally tell, because if you pay attention to the scenes, to the way the characters interact, the situations, I'm pretty sure whoever wrote Rebels wanted things to be really dark. And the only reason they were not able to do it was because they weren't allowed to.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the scenes like the first time Kanan and Ezra meet Vader, and that's straight from a horror movie. I mean, they are terrified. They haven't even seen him, and they're feeling like we're going to die. Kanan says like it felt like death.
Yeah. All I can say is that Star Wars is lacking a lot of darkness when like Star Wars Episode 3 style darkness, because that kind of stuff raises the stakes. It makes you feel like there's something actually at stake here, something that's bad, something bad's about to happen. Not like Star Wars Episode 9 where everything's either a joke or a plot convenience. You don't feel like anything's at stake at this point. oh look, the thousands of Star Destroyers that come up out of the ice, they're destroying us. I mean, who knew that a small fleet like this going up against a bunch of mini Death Stars would get this far, huh? You know,
Yeah.
like we're totally losing. You should feel bad for us. No, let's just drop some horses on top of this Star Destroyer over here because apparently they don't know how to fly up on their own.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not going back into that. That we already had this discussion a long time ago. Not going back into that one. All I can say is that there's no stakes in Star Wars anymore, or at least it doesn't feel like it. It's all this stuff, what you see on the main screen.
And it's
So
really insulting that they claim like, it's just for kids, don't take it too seriously. I mean, like, so according to you, kids are dumb. I mean, I was a kid and I don't remember asking or praying to TV God like, oh, why don't they make dumber stuff so I can understand it? It was never like that. When
no,
when TV shows challenge the younger me, I was always like, I would get more into them. I was like, I don't understand what they're going with this, but I would like to. And I would start asking questions maybe to my parents or to some other family members who were older to try to get a sense of it. I wasn't like turned away like, oh, this is too hard for me. I should go watch something else.
yeah,
No, that was never the case. And they said the same thing when they canceled the Earth's Mightiest Heroes shows, when they bought Marvel and they had to get rid of the current stuff to make their own, and they came up with Avengers Assemble, which sucks.
yeah,
And the excuse was that, oh no, the Earth's Mightiest Heroes was cool, but this was something they actually said. They said that they were concerned that kids would not be able to follow overarching stories, and I was like, what? I would literally stop everything I had going when I would remember like, oh, today is the next episode in the story arc I was watching yesterday. I have to go see it. And I would follow through 5 episode arcs back in the day. And now they're
uh-huh.
saying kids can't do it. Kids are not stupid.
No, they're smart. A lot smarter than people give them credit for.
Yeah.
Unless you're this kid. He probably should have known that Anakin was there killing everybody.
Yeah, when your former master shows up with a lightsaber in hand and yellow eyes, you should know that something's not good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, I think we've ranted enough about this. We'll just go ahead and end it here. It doesn't look like Soraya Way and Commander Tano are joining the discussion today. They should be back at some point whenever all our lives get a little less busy because we're all very busy people, unfortunately. We all have lives that we have to lead. But, that's besides the point. We might as well. Do you have anything else to say before we go, Chrono?
No, not really. I mean, I think we covered the comic book more than we probably should have. and and well, I will not say anything about Kenobi because you haven't and you don't want to, and that's okay. I think it's better if you don't know. But I will say that the more we see of Star Wars, of current Star Wars, the less hope I have for it. Clearly, the people handling the franchise have lost their way. They're focusing on the wrong things, and they don't really care about the core essence of the franchise anymore. I mean, this
Well,
this comic book, this comic book, you might think it's good or bad or whatever, but it points to a larger problem that keeps going on since it started with the sequel trilogy, and now we're here. And if you look at it in a gradual way, it's like the more time passes with them at the helm of Star Wars, the less Star Wars it feels like,
yeah,
and then that is a sad thing.
that is very sad. Which is why I'm sticking with the Star Wars Legends for the most part. Um, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if it's better, I'm going to read it. I don't care. Even if it ain't canon anymore. Heir to the Empire, Last Command, Dark Forces Rising. I think that's out of order, actually. Those three are the best books I've read so far in Star Wars, and I love them. Like, they should still be canon. They really should be.
How old are those?
My gosh, I forgot the release dates of them, but they're really old actually. Uh, I think it's like early '90s, like 1994, I think.
Oh yeah, those are old. I have not read any of those, but I probably should because current Star Wars is not doing it for me. So
You really should read it. Seriously, it's so good. Um, I'm trying to find the release date here. 1991 for Heir to the Empire.
oh,
1991. That's yeah.
it's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah. It's much older than me. Well, not much. It's 6 years older than me. So that's 31 years. 31 years. That's oh my gosh. I feel old thinking about that because, like I said, it's 6 years older than me. Now I feel old. All right. Anyway, well, I'm not going to go into that. We'll just go ahead and end the stream here today. So I was about to say something and then left it. Okay. Anyways, if you liked it, leave a like, leave a comment. Also subscribe if you feel like it. We have links in the description below for other things such as our Discord, our Twitch. I even have a link to the playlist of all our Star Wars Topics episodes from 1 to 34 at the moment. 35 will be on there as soon as this is over with. So all our Star Wars Topics episodes will be there in one convenient playlist. Very convenient. Almost as convenient as everything that happened in The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay. I love making fun of that one. Anyways, that'll be it for today. So if you enjoyed, like I said, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you want, and may the force be with you. We'll see you next time.
Sector.